Welcome to the very first episode of the Burt and Urbin Show, where we talk about a lot of football and probably some other sports eventually, but mostly football. I am Nick Burt. He is Zach Urban, and
Hello.
I will let you introduce yourself first, and then I will introduce myself.
All right. My name is Zach Urban. I go to Michigan State University and I'm studying journalism.
And I am Nick Burt. I also go to Michigan State University, and I am also studying journalism. So we're hoping to make this like a 2 times a week show, one
Mhm.
time with previews and then one times with recaps. So this is obviously the recap. We had some preseason technical difficulties last week, so we could not get out the preview. So this is technically our first episode. So we are going to get into college football. And the first game I want to touch on is the game that we both saw on Saturday, which was the Michigan State-Youngstown State game. Just another great showing by the Michigan State, just the whole team basically. There's still some shaky parts that I think that need to be ironed out. But overall, I think it was a great performance for Michigan State overall, even though it was Youngstown State.
Yes, I would happen to agree with you. I thought it was quite a performance. Even though it's a Youngstown State team, not very great. I think it was pretty obvious that they weren't the best team. But I thought we did get some questions answered, especially around Peyton Thorne. Um, some of the things on the defensive side of the ball need to get fixed up on. But another huge thing that I think we found out is that we don't just need Kenneth Walker to be able to run the football.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. We were both at that game. I don't think Kenneth Walker was in as much as he was for the Northwestern game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they definitely rotated in a few different running backs and were able to use the different people. And Elijah Collins was able to get a touchdown there, and we had a few runs from some other people. So yeah, I think it was big to see that step forward.
Yeah, looking at the box score from the game, it looks like Kenneth Walker only had 7 carries for 57 yards and 1 touchdown on Saturday. But it was Jordan Simmons with the most of the carries, with 16 carries for 121 yards.
Mhm.
But as you said, Elijah Collins had 3 carries for 32 yards, and he averaged 10.7 yards the whole game. Going back to Peyton Thorne, we saw in that first play, that deep ball, that was just an absolutely outstanding play. I believe it was to Jaden Reed, the 75-yard touchdown. I think that, like you said, that kind of answered some questions, because there were some rumblings going around that Peyton Thorne was only throwing short passes.
Yes, especially when you look at the Northwestern game, he really didn't have a great game through the air, especially when you have Kenneth Walker running the ball like he did. You don't really need to, but I think he did answer some questions. The one touchdown throw he had, he threw it open when it was bracketed by double defenders. That is a very good throw, regardless of who is covering it. He threw the play open, which I was really impressed by that.
Yeah, I think, again, like we said, this is a Youngstown State team that is not as good of a quality as other teams that Michigan State will end up playing this year. But I do believe that next week will be more of a test for this team against a Miami team who did not look good against Appalachian State. I believe the line came out yesterday that Miami is an 8-point favorite, which kind of shocked me.
Yeah.
But really looking forward to next week's game, because I have a feeling that is really going to show how good this team is against a quality opponent.
Yes, I would happen to agree. As long as we are able to somewhat compete, I don't think Miami is the best team, but it's definitely our toughest opponent that we will come across yet. And I think if we're able to compete, it shows signs in the right direction for this Mel Tucker led team.
Yeah, I don't think there's much more to talk about with that game. You got any more comments?
No, not really. Just a good showing. And like I kind of said, hopefully we see some more improvements on the defensive side of the ball because a few times the defense did look a little gassed at some point. So,
Okay, let's move on to probably the biggest game of the weekend, the most noise coming out of this game, and that is Oregon's upset of Ohio State at the Horseshoe, 35-28. Um, we did not get to watch that game live because it was the same time as the Youngstown State game. But watching the highlights, it looked like Ohio State just came out flat and never really woke up.
yeah, I would happen to agree, especially the defensive side of the ball. Ohio State never really got going. Oregon scored 35 points. You can't do that if you're a top three team in the nation looking to make a playoff.
Yeah, and I looking at the offensive side for Ohio State, CJ Stroud, there were a lot of questions coming into the game, like, is he the guy and all that. He went 35 for 54 for 484 yards. He was not the reason they lost on Saturday.
Yes, he had a very good game. And I thought for sure, if anything, they would lose because of that quarterback play, but that was not the case.
Yeah, he had only one interception, threw for 3 touchdowns. He was not the reason. Like we said, we think the biggest reason was that they kind of just showed up flat. But give credit to that Oregon team. They came out and played almost the perfect game. And when you do that, it's hard to beat a team that comes out and just basically plays perfectly.
They really did. And especially towards the end of the game, they needed a stop. They got it. They got what they needed. They were able to do what they did. It wasn't overly pretty. I mean, they gave up almost 30 points. But the point of football is to win, regardless of how it happens. And they made that happen. So I really think this Oregon team could be pushing for a playoff spot. There is a strong possibility in my mind.
And you got to think about it. They did it with their best defensive player, Kayvon Thibodeau, who was out with injury.
Yes.
We talked about it on Friday. We thought that was kind of going to be the differentiating point in that game is if he played, and he didn't. Even we thought that was going to be an advantage for Ohio State. It turned out it was not. Oregon really came out, and even with injuries to their best players, they came out and showed that they can be a top team like Ohio State.
Yes, and good football teams are able to do that. When a player goes down, the next guy, you hear it all the time, the next guy needs to be able to step up. And they were able to do that. A potential massive pick in an upcoming draft goes down with an injury out for the game against probably one of their biggest games that they've had in the last few years. And I think that says a lot about this Oregon team.
Yeah, after that game, I do believe that they could be the Pac-12 team to push for a playoff spot. The question is if they can get through the Pac-12, because the Pac-12 always just decides to do whatever they want, and just good teams end up losing to like 6 and 5 teams. So,
yeah. As of right now, I would have them as my favorite for the Pac-12. Yeah.
October 23rd, they do play UCLA at the Rose Bowl. I feel like that game could decide who wins the Pac-12 if UCLA can keep what they're doing going.
Yes, I think that'll be a big game for sure.
And then, you got any more comments on the Ohio State game?
No, especially being that I only saw the highlights and I was able to see just the last little bit. As I kind of hinted towards, I think Oregon really played the ending of that game very well from what I saw. And yeah, I was really impressed by that win.
Okay, now another big game on the weekend for almost the same reasons was Arkansas defeating Texas 40-21. Texas came into the game last week. Everybody was worried that they were going to lose to Louisiana Lafayette, and they ended up, I think, beating them by almost 20. And then they come into this game ranked 15th, and they basically got blown out the whole game against Arkansas, which I guess that means Texas is not back for, I don't know, the 15th consecutive year. But just an interesting game overall for both teams.
Yeah, I really don't like how every year Texas is back. You cannot declare that unless it is true. So I always find that quite funny. But regarding this game, really Texas came out flat. I mean, you look at it, 0 points in the first half. You can't do that in a game. I don't care who you're facing. You cannot have no points in the first half. And then second of all, I think the big takeaway that I have is the quarterback play from Texas. They do not have a guy. You need a guy. You need to stick to one guy. Right now they don't know.
Yeah, it was I believe it was Card that started off the game, and
Yes.
he went 8 for 15. And I don't remember when they brought in Thompson, but he went 5 for 8, and he was at least somewhat more decent than Card was, but still, it was not good.
Yeah, a very one-dimensional showing here. They really only had their rushing attack, and I think give all the props to Arkansas. They really came in and shut them down, and they were able to put up a lot of points. So I think this Arkansas team, they're not going to win a championship at all. Anything
Yeah,
close to
especially
it.
since they're in the SEC West with Alabama.
Yeah, but I think definitely possibility they might get into the top 25, maybe. Not really what you expect from Arkansas, but props to them. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe the latest report out of Austin came this morning, and Steve Sarkisian said that Casey Thompson will start at quarterback against Rice this weekend, but he said
Okay.
that Carr will play also. So basically, he's saying when you have two quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of like Ohio State. It looked like Texas almost came out flat too.
Yeah.
I believe like their first possession was a fumble that was recovered by Arkansas, and then they had a missed field goal late in the first. But other than that, they just came out really flat. And like you said, you cannot go through the first half and not score 1 point. Like you have to get points in the first half if you are going to win.
Yeah. Most winning teams, they come out strong. They come out right away. When you don't get points until the third quarter, you're asking to lose.
Okay, so let's move on to the NFL, where we're going to talk about your favorite team, the Detroit Lions, a 41-33 loss. But I feel like that scoreline does not tell the whole story of the game.
No, it does not at all. And if you watch the game and you were like me at all, very disappointing through the first 3 quarters, really. I didn't think Goff looked great. On the turnover that Garoppolo had, you got nothing. Defense looked abysmal. But all of a sudden, you reach the very end of the fourth quarter, and they closed the deficit in this matchup. And what I think the biggest thing that it shows me is that this team is willing to fight for Dan Campbell.
Yeah, I mean, they going into the fourth quarter, they were down 38-17, and the 49ers added a field goal in the fourth, and it was 41-17.
Yeah.
I feel like if Matt Patricia was the coach, it would have just shut down right there, and that probably would have been the final score. But watching that game, the Lions had fight in them. go that whole fourth quarter, they did not give up.
No.
And
Yeah.
they came close to tying, well, not tying the game because they would have still had to go for two, but they came close to getting that tying touchdown with only less than a minute left.
Yes, they were driving. They were on their way down the field. Might I say also that there was a very series of fortunate events that occurred between the onside kick and then the fumble, which really should have been the end of the game there. But if you like when your guys are still trying to punch for balls when you were down by a ton just a minute ago, I mean that is a good culture. That is definitely something special that you don't see in a lot of worse teams.
Yeah, looking at Jared Goff's stats, he went 38 for 57 for 338 yards. He had 3 touchdowns. He did have the 1 interception. But like you said, like he looked good, but he didn't look good enough.
Yeah, he missed a lot of throws that I think an average quarterback should make in the NFL. But then at the same time, he was managing the game. So it's really what you get out of him. I don't like his contract. I thought he played iffy. I think the stat line definitely looks like he played better than he actually did.
Yeah. And then looking at the other side of the ball, you have the somewhat quarterback controversy for the 49ers between Garoppolo and Lance. Lance only had 1 attempt on the day. He went 1 for 1, and that was the touchdown at the beginning of the game. Garoppolo went 17 for 25 for 314 yards. He had touchdown, no interceptions. I feel like you can't really make much about what Lance did in the game because he didn't play enough to make a decision on how good he is and if he can take that QB1 spot from Garoppolo.
Yeah. And on top of it, the touchdown throw was so wide open that I could have made it. It in my opinion didn't teach us much.
Yeah, I would like to talk about something with the Lions.
All right.
So yesterday, reading the Sunday Free Press, they included a nice section in here. I don't know if you can see that, but it is the ranking the Lions quarterbacks since the team's last playoff win. 45 quarterbacks on this list.
Oh
and
my God.
well, some of them aren't even quarterbacks. So obviously number 1 is Matthew Stafford.
Yes.
We will talk about him later when we talk about the Rams game. But some of these names on here, like I just find funny. Like at number 33 is Barry Sanders. He went 1 for 4 as a quarterback for 11 yards and an interception.
That is unbelievable.
Let's see. You got tied for 34th. You got a bunch of running backs like Jamal Agnew, Javid Best, Nick Harris, John Jett, Stephen Logan, Brett Perriman, Bill Schroeder, Roy Williams, James Stewart, and Bruce Ellington. Wow. That is 4 running backs, 4 receivers, and 2 punters who all attempted 1 pass and did not complete it.
Wow. The Free Press truly did their homework on that one. Wow.
Yeah.
That is a fun little article.
And then let's see, Dan Orlovsky comes in at number 10. John Kitna's at 9. Rodney Peete is at 8. 7 is Charlie Batch. 6, Gus Ferrante. 5, Eric Kramer. 4, Sean Hill. He was the backup for Stafford when he got injured in his rookie season, I believe.
Yes.
Scott Mitchell, number 3. Number 2, Dave Krieg. And number 1, Matthew Stafford. I just thought that was kind of funny with some of the names they threw in there, like Matt Prater and Sam Martin and Danny Amendola. But
might I add, in my humble opinion, I think Goff is already probably number 2 on that list. I mean,
One game and he's already better than most 44 of the 45.
yes, certainly.
Okay. Do you have any more comments on the Lions or the 49ers?
No, I think I liked what I saw from the 49ers defense really until the end. And I also look forward to see what this Lions team does, especially in a NFC North that is winless this week. So
Yes. None of the teams ended up winning, which is somewhat shocking, but not really. I believe the most shocking one is one of the games that we'll talk about later. And you can probably guess which one that is. But let's move on to another game, a debut for the number 1 overall pick, Trevor Lawrence, and the Jacksonville Jaguars losing 37-21 to the Houston Texans, who were supposed to be absolutely awful this year. And the Jaguars were supposed to take a step forward. I think it's the opposite right now. It looks like the Jaguars are going to probably be bad again.
yeah, I was really shocked by the outcome of this game. I really thought the Texans would not play that great, especially being that you can't really name anyone on their team besides Tyrod Taylor. But I think the biggest thing is that the Jaguars defense, I mean, they give up 37 points to a bad Texans team with a backup in Tyrod Taylor, which he's not a bad backup, but
No,
you know what I'm saying.
He's probably one of the best backups that are out there right now.
Yes, for sure. So I just think it's really hard to win a game if you're facing one of the worst teams in the NFL roster-wise. You're giving up almost 40 points. And then on top of it, you can look at Trevor Lawrence's debut. I thought he looked okay. You cannot turn the ball over as much as he did, though.
Yeah, but can you even consider Tyrod Taylor a backup if the starter Deshaun Watson isn't even dressing?
I mean, I guess he would be the starter then. But if you consider that, if you're thinking Deshaun Watson should be there, then he is kind of the backup. So I don't know. You can look at it both ways.
Okay, so looking at the Texans stats, you had Tyrod Taylor, who went 21 for 33, threw for 2 touchdowns, threw for 291 yards. You have Mark Ingram, who I didn't even realize was on the Texans, had 26 carries for 85 yards and 1 touchdown. And then you also had Philip Lindsay, who I also didn't realize was on the Texans, had 8 carries for 25 yards and a touchdown. I think that more says how much we don't know about the Texans, with Tyrod Taylor being the only player we know on the team, basically. Yeah, just like looking at their roster, it's like misfit toys, basically. Like it's people that you remember on different teams, like Joey Sly. I remember he was the kicker for the Panthers last year. I didn't even realize he left the Panthers.
Yeah, they really threw together. Like you said, I didn't know Mark Ingram was on their team. I didn't know Philip Lindsay was on their team. So that's truly wild. I guess.
How about Danny Amendola too?
Yeah. Oh yes, I did. I do remember hearing he got signed by them.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I was saying, I mean Trevor Lawrence didn't have a bad game, but he did at the same time. I mean 28 of 51, 332 and 3 touchdowns. That's very good.
Mm-hmm.
But the 3 interceptions, you cannot turn the ball over, especially the one throw that he had. He was running to his left and threw crossbody. You can't do that in the NFL. You really can't.
No, and obviously it is his first game in the NFL regular season wise. So it is going to take time to adjust, but I think it's too early, obviously, since it's only week 1, to say the Urban Meyer experience has failed, but it didn't go off to a great start at all.
Yeah, I think this team definitely needs time, and they need help on the defensive side of the ball.
You got any more comments on this game?
Uh, no, I think that's all. The score kind of speaks for itself. So
Speaking of teams that did not have a good weekend, the Green Bay Packers lose 38-3 to the New Orleans Saints, a scoreline that nobody really saw coming at all. And I don't really think anybody expected the Saints to win either, especially by that margin.
no, this is a real shocker, and I thought this one would be way more competitive. And I actually had the Packers winning this one, like many people did. Um, but yeah, everyone's talking about how Aaron Rodgers looked awful, but I think this defense looked abysmal as well. I mean, they gave up so many deep passes from Jameis Winston. I mean, they couldn't stop anything. They really couldn't. And yeah, this team does not look like they're in sync right now.
Yeah, famous Jameis, 14 for 20, 148 yards, 5 touchdowns. I don't really think anybody expected that at all coming from him. Uh, but I guess that kind of shows what sitting behind Drew Brees for a year does.
Yeah, he's really been able to so far eliminate the turnovers, which no one ever questioned his ability as a quarterback. It was always about the bad decision making and the turnovers. But it looks like he may have gotten that under control. And he I thought he looked very good. I mean, he put up a stat line that Aaron Rodgers usually puts up. So
Yeah, speaking of Aaron Rodgers, he went 15 for 28, 133 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Um, it just was not an Aaron Rodgers day. I know the people in the media are going to start saying, well, is Aaron Rodgers really like in the mindset for it? Um, I don't really, I think he is in the mindset for it. I don't know what to think of it.
I think a lot of I think the especially the ESPN or the sports media, I think they're really underplaying how good this Saints team might possibly be. I think, like, when you look at it, this was a team last year under Drew Brees who really had a chance to potentially push for a Super Bowl. And with Drew Brees not being fully healthy and obviously not playing great, they weren't able to do that. But now they have a quarterback who can push the ball down the field, who isn't turning it over like he did, or unlike he did. But yeah, I really think they're underplaying how good the Saints might be. And yes, a lot of this does have to do with the dysfunction around the Packers organization right now. But I think within the next few weeks they'll figure it out and they'll definitely be heading for the playoffs. So
Well, I mean, they got the Lions next week on Monday Night Football, so that's always a great tune-up game.
yes, a good automatic win.
Yeah, especially in Lambeau.
Yes.
What's the ref complaint going to be this time?
Oh, it's probably another hands to the face. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, like you were saying, I do think the media is underplaying how good this Saints team might be. Um, Obviously, I'm I want to go out on a limb, but I don't. That Jameis Winston is probably would have been better for this team last year with Drew Brees as quarterback. Because I mean, yes, Drew Brees was good. He just he was old. He
Yeah.
wasn't fully there. And I almost think that if Jameis played the way he did yesterday, if he played all last season, that there could potentially have been a different Super Bowl champion.
Yes, I agree with you, except I think that what we saw yesterday was a product of him sitting. If
Yeah,
he played, I do not think that he would look the way he did, but because he got to sit behind Drew Brees, see the weekly progression, how to watch for film, what to look for when doing so, how to attack what you see on film, how to the decision makings and not turning the ball over. I think all of that really helps by sitting and um yeah, I mean, Drew Brees last season, when you break, how many ribs did he break? He broke a
Probably
ton
like
of,
50.
yeah, he broke quite a few, quite a few ribs. And I don't think 4 weeks later you're going to be feeling 100% from that. And that really diminished their possibilities last season.
Yeah, just an outstanding performance by the Saints. I don't really have anything else to comment on this one. Do you?
The only thing else I would like to add is I'm a sad fantasy owner for picking Aaron Rodgers. Um, but besides that, I think he'll bounce back. It might take a little bit. He did not look like himself, but he'll definitely get back to normal Aaron Rodgers form.
Okay. Let's move on. The Chiefs beat the Browns 33-29. I will let you comment and then I will talk.
All right, so this was probably my favorite game of the week. This was just a great game. I think the Browns really came in, had the Chiefs under control. But the beginning was not unlike Chiefs of the past. There have been plenty of games where they do not start off super strong, and the other team gets a decent lead. And that's what we saw yesterday. Chiefs were able to adjust. Patrick Mahomes got going. They were able to, eventually keep up. But I thought the Browns' game plan that they came in with was really great. I mean, they looked really solid off the first snap.
Okay. Um, yeah, it was a great first half. What the score at halftime was like, I don't even remember.
Let's
It
see.
22
14
to
to
10.
yeah.
The Browns were obviously leading. Uh, let's see. Yeah, Browns scored touchdown on all three of their drives that they had in the half, except for the last one, but that one was just kind of fluky because it was the end of the half. They almost did get a touchdown though. That last play, the pitchy woo woo,
Yeah.
all the pitches around the field. Um, I don't know what happened in the second half. Um, it just seems like the team that came out in the first half did not come out in the second half. What the Browns had like 457 total yards, something like that.
Let's see here. 457, yes.
And I believe only 100 of those were in the second half or something like that.
Mm.
I have no idea. Obviously, the Chiefs defense looked better in the second half, but just this is why I can't have hope as a Browns fan. Going into halftime, I'm like, okay, this is good. This is good. We're doing decent. And it just falls apart.
See, I think as a Browns fan, I would be very happy coming away from this game. I know you want the win. Everyone that's the priority. But I mean, you look at it. This running attack looked primed that it did last season. So I thought the running game came out very strong, looked just as good as they did last season. Baker Mayfield looked more comfortable, I thought, than he did last season. I think he really put in the work this offseason to understand the offense. But at the end of the day, it's the Chiefs. I mean, they did what the Chiefs have been doing for the last few years. Patrick Mahomes got rolling. This defense, took the momentum of the offense and were able to get a few key stops. And then, of course, you have the poor punt handling, which gave Chiefs great field position. And I mean, once that happened, you kind of knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, that punt. Oh my, that punt. I I'm not putting the full blame on Gillen for that one. I do believe he could have got a punt off even after dropping it. I don't know why he scrambled.
Yeah, to me it looked like he had time to pick it up and punt it right then, even if he just like quickly got it off.
Yeah. Any punt, even if it was terrible and only went for 20 yards, is better than giving it up at the 20,
Yeah.
whatever it was. But like you said, Baker Mayfield went 21 for 28, 321 yards. He did not throw for a touchdown. He did have the one interception at the end, which I'd like to talk about that pass too. Um, but like you said, the run game, Nick Chubb, 15 carries, 83 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kareem Hunt, 6 carries, 33 yards, 1 touchdown. And he had the 2-point conversion also. Um, but I'd like to go back to that interception by Baker. It did look like he just got grabbed at the ankle and he was starting to go down. Honestly, like this is in hindsight, retrospective, Monday morning quarterback, all that stuff. You should just took the sack. I get that we didn't have any timeouts. Yeah, no, we did not. I get that. But it was just a poor throw.
Do you think he was trying to throw it out of bounds, or do you think he was trying to make the pass into double coverage?
I I would hope that he was trying to throw it out of bounds, but knowing him, he was probably trying to throw into double coverage, because it always seems like he wants to take that risk, which it's good if it works, but if it doesn't,
Yeah. See, to me, it looked like I mean, it was so obviously covered that I'd like to think that he was trying to throw it out of bounds. But I do think as he was coming down, it changed the trajectory of the throw. And
yeah, because I didn't think it was high enough to be a throw out of bounds.
no, but I also think that's because he was falling down. He couldn't get the leverage he needed.
Yeah.
But
Um,
yeah, I'm my unless you have more to add, I think the big takeaway for me is that this could be a potential massive playoff game. I think the Browns, their defensive effort was really good. Their offensive effort was really good. They just fell short on a few different plays that were key. I really think this could be the AFC Championship game, and I wouldn't be surprised if this was the rematch for it.
I mean, I hope so, but I don't want to play the Chiefs again. I'll let you know that. Um,
Yes.
let's move on to the Sunday night game, the Rams and the Bears. The Rams did end up winning. The final score was something. Let me look it up.
34-14 Rams.
34-14. Did you know that Matthew Stafford didn't have a running game in Detroit? Did you know
I did
that?
know that. I did know that.
That was a shocker to me. I'm glad they reminded it to me on the broadcast about 15 times.
I'm also glad that they reminded me that he had no other help here. The,
Yeah,
the
because he
defense was
totally
always
didn't have
bad.
a Hall of Fame wide receiver for the first few years of his career.
Yeah. But
Um,
yeah, my takeaway from this game is Stafford looked great. He looked comfortable in the new scheme under McVay. Um, Darrell Henderson had a pretty good game, 16 carries, 70 yards, a touchdown. Stafford was making throws.
deep
I
play
mean,
after deep play.
yeah, 20 to 26, 321 and 3 touchdowns. It's literally the perfect it's a perfect quarterback game. You couldn't ask for more. You really couldn't. And I think this is exactly what McVay wanted for his scheme. His scheme sets up these perfect scenarios. I mean, look at the one touchdown. Cooper Kupp was wide open, but it wasn't because of blown coverage. It was because Stafford looked him off to not pay attention to the route seeking behind the safety. So I really think Stafford has the talent to execute this McVay offense perfectly. Um, and when you look at the Bears side of it, I think Andy Dalton is kind of sad. They should just put in Fields. I think he gives them a better chance. And I don't, yeah,
Uh,
Andy Dalton just didn't look great.
Yeah, no, he didn't have a bad night though. He went 27 for 38 for 206 yards. He did have 3 sacks that amounted to 28 lost yards. But just seeing Justin Fields standing on the sidelines, like kind of looking pissed off, reminds me of when he was at Georgia, and it was Jake Fromm that was starting in front of him. Like, it's just, Andy Dalton, like I said, Andy Dalton didn't have a terrible game, but I do feel like it might have been a closer game if Fields plays the whole game.
Yeah. Especially when you consider that the Rams defense really couldn't stop the run. I mean, they gave up David Montgomery, 16 carries, 108 yards, 6.5 yards per carry and a touchdown. I mean, that's a great running game. If they can get the passes, but Andy Dalton just doesn't provide that. He's okay at best, really. And I think when you draft someone like Justin Fields with so much potential, I mean, you look at him, he's running in the preseason at least. He can run around, he can escape the pressure, he can make the throw, which is different once you get to regular season. But I mean, I think he's the perfect package for today's NFL. And you have him sitting on your sideline in a season that I think really has Matt Nagy on the hot seat.
His job's on the line.
Yeah. And so I do not understand the decision making. And my last take is that Dick Butkus, Bears legend, his face on national TV said it all for me. He looked very disappointed in the Bears, and I'm sure Bears fans feel that way. And I know I'm disappointed in the Bears, and I'm not a Bears fan. So yeah.
I want to read you a quote from last night's post-game press conference from Sean McVay. The question was, what was it about Stafford that allowed him to complete the touchdown pass to Van Jefferson? McVay's answer: I think it was a great job by him being able to flip his hips and make an unbelievable throw. I think that's kind of one of those things. He's gifted. He's got a great ability to be able to change his arm slot and make all types of throws, whether it be short, intermediate, or down the field. You're not limited in anything you can do in the pass game. Hopefully, we'll continue to build on options and opportunities that we have moving forward. I see that part, that you're not limited in anything you can do in the pass game. I kind of see that as a shot to Jared Goff.
Yes. I really think that Stafford is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the league. I'd say he's probably top 10. But, you know, that changes person to person. But he has all the talent there. And now he has the most weapons surrounding him that he's ever had in his career. He has a very solid defense, one with Jalen Ramsey, who, might I add, played a magnificent game yesterday. He was everywhere, all over the field. And Aaron Donald, who got his first sack of the season towards the end of the game. But, you know, he always has pressure. But, yeah, I mean, you're not limited with him. You're just not.
Yeah. Again, the national media will have Stafford as the greatest quarterback of all time by the end of the year, since he's playing in LA and not Detroit. And he's probably going to win the MVP and all that good stuff if they keep playing like they are, or they did, because it's only been one game. And there's a potential there, Super Bowl wise. They kind of look like the strongest team in the NFC yesterday. Again, it's only 1 week, but right now, I guess they are the team to beat. Even though that division, the Cardinals looked great yesterday also against the Titans. The Seahawks they looked decent against the Colts, and obviously the 49ers almost choked away the win against the Lions. But that division is going to be tough.
Yeah,
For any
it's
team to win.
it's going to be a gauntlet. Um, I think the Cardinals, their offense looked on fire. Kyler Murray came out great, but also I think it has a lot to do with Titans defense that really got lost a lot of key members to it. And I mean, they got Julio Jones, but didn't get any key additions to the defense. What good is an offense without a defense? So I think you can factor that into their performance. We already discussed the 49ers and the Seahawks. I mean, as always, Russell Wilson looked really good. And I actually thought the Colts would look better, but I think this Seahawks team might be better than I originally thought they would be.
Do you have any other games you want to comment on from the NFL weekend?
Dolphins Patriots was a fun one to watch. Low scoring. Mac Jones looked good. Tua looked all right until that interception he threw. But yeah, I'm excited to see what both teams have to offer in the future. And then finally, just kind of going back to the Thursday night game, the season opener. I think we really got spoiled in that game as football fans. That was an unbelievable showing, and I'm looking forward to uh, how well Dak plays the rest of the season. He looked phenomenal, and I also look forward to see if this Bucks team can cut down on some of the errors that they had and get back to what they look like in the playoffs.
Yeah. One other game I did want to comment on, our division rivals, the Steelers. They absolutely stole a win against the Bills. The Bills looked like the better team most of the game. They just couldn't get points. The Steelers defense does look pretty good also. Maybe they're a contender to win the division again. I think it all depends on how Roethlisberger plays the rest of the year. I was kind of disappointed that they didn't run Najee Harris a lot more. He kind of just was there. They didn't really try to utilize him too much. But it should be interesting to see how the division plays out.
Yeah, I really think that Steelers team came out. They look like the beginning of the year Steelers last season. They looked really good. This was kind of a low scoring game, very defensive. And I think that fourth down that the Bills ran with like the backward shuffle pass or whatever it was, that was an awful play call. And I really think that cost them the game. But yeah, I look forward to seeing what those teams have in store this season. I think both defenses look really good. So
Okay, so before we get out of here, I will do one winner and one loser on the week. I'm going to go with the winner is obviously the Oregon defensive line without Kayvon Thibodeau. Going into Columbus and winning the game against Ohio State, I don't really think much more needs to be said about that. They showed out and performed. I do think they are the biggest winner of the week. I do believe the biggest loser of the week is Aaron Rodgers. He just didn't look to be there against the Packers or for the Packers. You gotta wonder what's going through his mind if like he's like maybe I should have retired or something like that. It will be interesting to see how he does come out next week against the Lions.
yes, I really like your winner. That is a great winner. I think that Oregon defense really did what they needed to do. Both my winner and loser are going to come from the NFL. My winner for the week is going to be the Rams passing game. With the addition of Stafford, everything was flowing. McVay and Stafford were celebrating on the sideline. It looked like they finally have what they need on the offensive side of the ball to compete for a Super Bowl. Then my big loser for the week, which I don't know if you would see this one coming, but Daniel Jones is my big loser for the week. And I think I saw today that Daniel Jones has reached his 40th career turnover in only 28 NFL games.
Yikes.
I don't think he has much left. He won't see the field very longer. I mean, well, they'll have to play him. The Giants will, but just a unbelievable mistake of a draft pick. Looking back on it now, yeah.
I mean, everybody kind of expected it when he was picked that it would probably end out this way.
Yeah. Yeah, true. He has upside, but he's just not showing the potential to stop the turnovers and make the next jump to a real starting quarterback. So he's my big loser for the week.
Yeah, watching that game, man, the Giants did not look good at all. You did see the injury of Jerry Jeudy. That is very unfortunate. Hopefully he does recover quickly. But hey, we can't forget that the Giants are just sitting one of the best quarterbacks of all time on their bench right now, Brian Lewerke.
Yes.
He might only be on the practice squad, so he might not even be sitting on the bench. So let's tamper the expectations.
Yeah. But yeah, the Giants. I also thought it was telling that I thought the Broncos looked good. And I really think that they can they'll compete. They'll look good. So
Teddy Bridgewater is much better than Drew Lock, can tell you that.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, Teddy Bridgewater was able to control that game pretty good, and he had a good afternoon.
Well, I think you got any more comments before we get out of here?
One last question tonight. Ravens and Raiders. Who do you got?
I just said the wrong team. The Ravens, because the John Gruden experiments failed, and he's basically just there now. I don't think they'll fire him, so he's kind of there for however long his contract still goes for. I honestly don't think it's going to be that close either. But I do think the only thing that might keep the Raiders in the game is that the Ravens basically have no running backs except for Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I would have to also choose the Ravens to win this game. But I think a big factor that a lot of people aren't looking at is Josh Jacobs questionable with an illness. If he does not play, they have no shot. They really don't have a shot. If they do, I think that it might be a little competitive, but I mean, what's the point difference on this one?
The Ravens are only favored by 4.
4? I would definitely take Ravens by over 4 points easily, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could see the Raiders competing. They had a bad off season and a bad draft, and they definitely will need more help. But I could see them competing for sure. So should be an exciting matchup tonight.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Peyton and Eli on the call on ESPN too.
Yes, that should be quite fun.
Well, I believe that is it for this first episode. I think it went well, except for the few technical hiccups we had. Hopefully it doesn't go terribly wrong going to upload it like it did last time. But just thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking with us for, I think it was almost about an hour. We'll be back probably on Friday or Thursday to do a preview of week 3 and week 2 in the NFL. And just thanks for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy this recap, and hopefully you come back.